about this. This teaching is called, is this a golden age or is this God's setup? So I want to ask a question in this teaching today. Very important question. Are we entering into a golden age, or is this God's setup, or is it both? And so very important question, because some people think, since President Trump was elected and all these things are happening in the United States and Israel, which are very good, maybe the end times have been put on hold. Maybe this is delaying things. Or is this God setting things up for the return of Jesus and the beginning of the tribulation? Let me talk about just kind of where we are. Since 1948, the destinies of Israel and the United States have been connected. The United States was the first nation to recognize Israel. May 14th of 1948, when President Harry Truman recognized Israel's right to exist 11 minutes after Israeli leader David Ben-Gurion declared their independence. The United States has been the best friend of Israel since day one. Despite the decisions of many of our leaders to pressure Israel into dividing their land and compromising with an enemy vowed to their destruction, and God has taken that very seriously, and I've mentioned the book Eye to Eye, Bill Koenig wrote, talking about whenever we try to pressure Israel to give up land, bad things happen to America, and that is well documented by Bill. And by the way, Bill Koenig is going to have part 2 of that book coming out about other things that have happened since he wrote the first book, and I'm going to have him on the show to talk about that when the book comes out. The United States has supplied Israel with military weapons to become the most powerful nation in the Middle East, and we have also represented and protected Israel in the United Nations as they face constant censure and threats of world condemnation. But we are now entering into what appears to be a golden age of the closest relationship with Israel and the U.S. we have ever had, and the possibility of true peace and prosperity in the Middle East, which has never been experienced before, ever been experienced before. And the question is, why? Okay, why are we experiencing this now? Well, first of all, President Trump. He's the most pro-Israel president in American history, and no one has come close to being as pro-Israel as him. He has recognized all of Jerusalem as Israel's capital, not dividing it, but all of Jerusalem, and moved our embassy there. He is against a two-state solution. Now, during his first term, he supported a two-state solution, but he's changed his mind. Since last May of 2024, President Trump has stated he no longer believes that a two-state solution is a viable option. And when he's asked about the land, the settlements in Judea and Samaria, the West Bank, and Israel's desire to annex those into Israel to become a part of the nation, President Trump's response has been, they don't have a lot of land. In other words, we're not going to take that land away from them. And so he supports Israel's right to defend themselves and is totally committed to standing by Israel militarily. And by the way, these 2,000-pound bombs that Israel needed if they're going to strike Iran, we just delivered those. Those were held back through President Biden. They have now been delivered through President Trump. He is tough on Iran and anyone messing with Israel. He's tough on Hamas and is committed to cleaning out Gaza and ushering in peace and prosperity there. There has never been anyone like him, and Prime Minister Netanyahu has said repeatedly he's the best friend Israel's ever had. Okay, there's never been a time like this. No one's going to mess with Israel, I can promise you that. If they do, they're dumb. With President Trump in the White House. Possibly, you remember during his first term, there were the Abraham Accords, where Arab nations were making peace with Israel. It was absolutely remarkable until COVID hit. And so it's amazing what we're seeing happening today, and it's unprecedented, but he's also made some incredible cabinet choices. First of all, Ambassador Mike Huckabee. He has been nominated to be the ambassador to Israel, former pastor, former governor of Arkansas, very strong believer and longtime supporter of Israel. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, very strong believer and a staunch supporter of Israel. He's just been in Israel over the weekend. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, very strong believer, openly discussed Israel rebuilding their third temple. He's very supportive of Israel's right to defend themselves with strong U.S. support. So the questions are we entering into a golden age of peace and prosperity for Israel and America? It certainly appears so. And also, is this delaying end-time prophecy in Jesus' return, or is it a part of his plan? And also, is there a prophecy that tells us what's happening in all of this? And so the answer is, I believe we're entering into an incredibly significant period of time for Israel and the United States. It's not only not delaying Bible prophecy and the return of Jesus, it's a part of God's sovereign plan, and it's clearly revealed in Bible prophecy. So where do we find it? Okay, so we're going to read 1 Thessalonians chapter 4 and 5, and I want to set this up in the context of what Paul is saying here, because I'm going to read you several scriptures now that show us where we are on the end times timeline.